What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here live for the bottom line week number 12 NFL review recap, where I rant about this past week in the NFL. Woo! We got a good episode tonight for you. We are going to talk about, are the Chiefs unstoppable? Can anybody stop them? Can anybody halt them from getting a back-to-back Super Bowl championship? We are going to discuss the scary Tennessee Titans on their way to the playoffs and why I feel they will be such a tough out. Of course, we will sprinkle in a little Bucks. We'll sprinkle in a little Patriots. We will talk about some firings that happened and potentially some future firings that should happen in the NFL, as well as a lot more on this episode of the Bottom Line Weekly NFL Review. Before I get into the review of week number 12 in the NFL, make sure you do spike that like button and subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL just like this. If you like this show, if you like this weekly review, make sure you subscribe to the channel. It also wouldn't hurt if you hit or spike that notification bell as well to get the latest update on the latest upload whenever I go live. Make sure you're in that chat right away. Whenever I upload a video, make sure you are the first to see it. The way to do that is hitting that notification bell next to the subscribe button. And also, of course, I love the interaction that I have with the people that watch the channel, with the viewers. So make sure you comment your questions, your opinion in the comment section below, whether you're here live with me right now, where I'll take the comments, the questions at the end of the video, at the end of the rants, at the end of the craziness. That's where I take most of the questions and most of the comments at the end of the live portion. But if you're also watching this back and you're not here live, make sure you do get in that comment section, because I want to hear from you guys as well, what your thoughts were on the craziness of week number 12 in the NFL and what your biggest takeaway was. Every week when you watch the NFL, the number one thing I want to hear from you, what was your takeaway? What was your takeaway this week? What did you see? What did you see from your team? What did you see from the NFL? That's what I want to hear. That's what I want to know. So, let's get into the review and the episode. Of course, the review with the same thing that we always do every week. All right? That is the top 10 Ultras. Top 10 this week for week number 12. The 10 best teams in the NFL after week number 10. So let's check that out. There we go. All right, so week number 12, the Ultra Top 10, and this can be found exclusively on Instagram, or you could be the first to see it on Instagram. You don't even have to wait for this show to see the top 10 if you do follow our Instagram. So let's start off at number 10 with the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are at number 10. They have consistently been winning, okay? It hasn't been pretty, but the NFL is not pretty right now. The NFL, I've said multiple times, it's not very good. In fact, I would say it sucks, all right? I've said it many times, but the Browns have been winning. So when you're doing these top 10s, it's not necessarily who are the top 10 teams at the end of the year. And this is how Ultra does it, because I know how he thinks, all right? You do it based on this week. Who are the top 10 teams going into week 13? And that's kind of how Ultra does it. So Cleveland is a team that's consistently been winning. They've won a few games in a row, and even though they're playing weaker competition, which they are, and I don't see them as a big-time contender, you have to give them the respect for the record that they do have and for the football that they are playing. They are beating the teams that they're supposed to beat. Not everybody, especially in 2020, does that. So there is something to that. At number 9, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, I think, is firmly in the mix in the NFC. Now they have dropped games to LA, the Chiefs, and they lost to the Saints twice, obviously. But I think they are a team that I've said all year, the more that they go by the season, the more that they play each week, the more that they learn not just about their opponents, but also about themselves, more importantly. And this is a team, of course, with Tom Brady and some new pieces, and they're still trying to find that mix between what Brady's doing, what Arians is doing, what's best for this football team. And the way I see Tampa Bay is that each and every week they correct something, they move forward, and if they are going to do anything in the playoffs, it's going to be because they've learned from the experiences of the regular season, and they can take that into the playoffs and play their best football. That's what you're looking for if you're a Bucs fan. That's why they still remain in the top 10, which they are still a top 10 team. They seem to dominate the average teams in the league, but they do struggle against the teams that have outcoached them this year. At number 8, the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle is solid. I think their defense is playing a lot better as of late. I think the injuries obviously have simmered down for them defensively. Jamal Adams is back and looking good. And obviously, Carlos Dunlap has been a huge, huge help to their defensive line. So Seattle's defense is giving me a little bit to wonder about in terms of their prospects come playoff time. Because of course, they have Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. And with those guys, they're going to score. But can their defense at least be competent enough to give them an opportunity to do something in the playoffs? And that's what I'm looking for from their team. At number 7, LA. Now, this is the flip side, all right? The Rams' defense might be the best in football, but their offense is extremely inconsistent. And I think a lot of that has to do with Jared Goff. So we saw last week versus Tampa Bay, looked really good. Sean McVay schemed some things up. I thought the Rams outcoached the Bucs, which is why they won the game. And their defense played really well. But the Rams, their defense showed up for San Francisco again, but their offense didn't, and that's the reason they lost. So the Rams are kind of the reverse of the Seahawks. They're probably a more well-rounded, balanced team than Seattle, but they don't have that elite quarterback or the elite playmakers that Seattle does have on offense, which is why they lose some of these games. At number 6, Green Bay. Green Bay seemingly can beat everybody that is not good in the league. They have lost to 2 teams, and those 2 teams are 2 or 3 teams. I don't remember what their record is. But they lose to the teams that are on their level, it seems like. The only team I would say that they have beat, that I would say that is a good team, is the Saints. And that was a Saints team without Michael Thomas, and their defense was still figuring things out. So I'd wonder how that matchup would go down now. But Green Bay, they lost to Tampa Bay, they lost to Indianapolis. They've lost to some of the better teams in the league, and they've beat up on some bad teams. Not saying that's just the way it goes, right? But they do have Aaron Rodgers. They have Devontae Adams. I think Matt LaFleur has done a better job than people want to give him credit for. Their defense still scares me, but they're at number 6. And number 5, the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are a team, I think, similar to the Packers, where they're kind of potent on offense. They can score quickly. They can pass on you for big plays, but they're trying to figure everything else out. Buffalo's defense had a big game last game versus Justin Herbert, who's been ripping and shredding every defense in the league. Buffalo put a halt to that, and they looked better on defense after the bye, which is big. Their run game also looked a lot better with Moss and Singletary. We'll get to that later on. At number 4, Tennessee. We are also going to talk about the Titans today, but they are explosive. They are very well coached, I think, on both sides of the football. Tannehill is a solid quarterback. Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown are beasts. At number 3, the New Orleans Saints. I think you could argue the top 3. I think the top 3 right now is clear. I think the top team in the NFC is definitively right now at this moment the Saints, even though they're winning ugly with Taysom Hill. Their backup quarterback is in, so you got to talk about that. But their defense is playing a lot better. They're dominating the line of scrimmage on both sides, and that's why they're winning despite the quarterback play. At number 2, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's undefeated. Not a lot of people are giving them the credit of being undefeated, but they are very good. Of course, they have one of the better defenses in the league. I still question the competition they faced, which I think is fair, but I think they do deserve credit where credit is due. They've beat every team they've played. It's as simple as that. At number one, the only team that you could argue over an undefeated team is the Super Bowl champions, and the team that just beat Tampa Bay has beat the Raiders, has beat some good teams in this league. Baltimore, they've done a pretty good job versus their top competition. It seems like the Chiefs are able to come out gangbusters early on versus the better teams, show that they are dominant, and then they kind of take the foot off the gas. And that's kind of what I'm worrying about, and we'll get to that as well in this show. But the Chiefs, their offense is for sure the best in the game, and they're the Super Bowl champs. It just feels like until somebody beats them, I'm not going to remove them from number one, and neither should Ultra, although Ultra has kind of interchangeably put the Steelers and the Chiefs at number one. So it is what it is there. So if you enjoyed that top 10, if you want to check it out on Instagram weekly before the show even happens, then do give us a follow at TheBottomLineView on Instagram. That is Ultra's top 10 that myself, Durkant, also give our input in as well and give our thoughts. And typically I yell at Ultra for putting a certain team in a certain spot. This week, I don't think it was all that bad. I think it was solid. I mean, it's kind of tough right now in the NFL because it's a very matchup-based league. So you could pretty much say that a number of the teams, like the Bucs beat the Packers, the Rams beat the Bucs, the Rams beat Seattle, the Seattle beat, you get what I'm saying, right? The Packers beat the Saints. Every team basically had their matchup where they didn't look so good, right? The Titans beat the Bills. The list goes on, right? So that's the NFL right now. It's very matchup based. It feels like no true teams are at the top of the league. No true teams are truly dominant. I feel like Kansas City personally is my top team, and I've said that for a while now after the feeling out process of the early season. And that will remain until somebody knocks them off, to be honest. They are the favorites over the Steelers. I still question the Steelers versus top competition because they've only played the Titans that I would consider good. And that was a close game. I think with the Steelers, because a lot of questions are going to be from Steelers fans, why aren't they number one? I want to see them play. I think the Bills game is a big one that we'll see later in this season. They play Buffalo. I think that's going to be a really true litmus test of how will they do in the playoffs. Because we know that they are good. Obviously, they're undefeated. But they have not played a lot of the playoff teams. Really, I think they've only played one. And maybe two with the Browns. But I would consider the Browns the weakest of the playoff teams. So that's my thing with the Steelers. But yeah, I have the Saints number one in the NFC. Chiefs number one in the AFC. Steelers below them. I think the Titans and the Bills are in the top four in the AFC. As for the NFC, I still see it as it's pretty much a 5-team conference in my opinion in terms of like who could win the Super Bowl or who could get to the Super Bowl, I should say, with Green Bay, Seattle, Tampa, New Orleans, and who's the other one? Or is it just 4 teams? Did I miss one? Probably missing one there. Green Bay, Seattle, LA, Tampa, New Orleans. That's 5. Yeah, so a 5-team NFC. I think any of those 5 teams could find their way to the Super Bowl depending on matchup and depending on how they play at that moment. The AFC, I feel, is a little bit more, it's a little top-heavy, but I do think the Bills or the Titans could find a way as well. So it's interesting. It's interesting. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Let's get into the show with the first topic of the day, which is, can anyone stop Kansas City? Kansas City is a juggernaut. All right. They are the number 1 team in the NFL, as we just described. This Sunday, they defeated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. They went up early on Tampa, and they kind of took the foot off the gas pedal. So what I want to talk about here is Kansas City's strength, but also Kansas City's weakness. So what I see from Kansas City is nobody can truly stop their offense. This is what I've seen all year. Their offense in 2020 is basically unstoppable. Tampa Bay made the crucial mistake, and this goes to Tampa Bay and what they've been doing game after game by getting out coached, but leaving one-on-one Tyree Kill. Michael Lombardi said this. I thought this was funny. It popped me at least. He said, when you are on your way to the stadium, you need to double team Tyree Kill, which means essentially you cannot go any big down, big situation, or just play in general without thinking about doubling Tyree Kill. That is basically a crime against your football team. If you leave any corner, one-on-one with Tyree Kill, especially when he's running a crossing route. Okay, just imagine trying to cover Tyree Kill on a crossing route. How do you do it? He's too fast. It's uncoverable. And then you have Patrick Mahomes throwing him the ball. You can't do it. You simply cannot do it. So every time you play Kansas City, you have to double Tyree Kill. This is the first topic. Tyree Kill, I'm done. I'm done with it. Tyree Kill is the best receiver in the NFL. I don't want to hear any other name. Can we just stop? Tyree Kill is the best. I'm done. I've had moments where I said Julio. I've had moments of Michael Thomas. I've flirted with DeAndre Hopkins. I even brought up DK, who I think, we'll get to that later, might be number 2, okay? I am done. I am not changing my list. Tyree Kill is the best. Why is Tyree Kill the best? Because of the same reason Randy Moss was the best. I've brought this up before. Every time you play Tyree Kill, you need to know where he is. You need to know if he goes to the bathroom. You need to know if he's changing his helmet, his gear, taping his pads up. You need to know if he's getting the ball in a reverse, if he's getting it on a screen. You need to know if he's in the slot, if he's on the right, if he's on the left. And you need to have the right person on him at all times. No other receiver in the league do you need to make sure that you have the same person on him all game. The Bucs played Davante Adams this year. Davante Adams did not do anything in that game. Nothing. Because Davante Adams, as good as he is, as great of a route runner as he is, which he might be the best route runner in the league, he's not going to win a game single-handedly if you let him be one-on-one on a play. Tyree Kill literally can end a game in the course of 3 plays. You could give Tyree Kill 3 plays, one-on-one, and the game would be over. It's the same reason why Randy Moss was one of the greatest of all time and the best receiver when he played. Because every time you played Randy Moss, you need to make sure that he doesn't run by you. You need to make sure that you have a safety over top. You need to make sure you're playing off coverage. You need to make sure you're doubling him. You need to make sure in the red zone you don't get mossed. But Tyree Kill's a little different. But what we've seen from Tyree Kill is he's no longer just a guy that can run fast. He's not just a guy that can return a kick. He can do everything. He can run a route underneath, intermediate, over the top. He's not Davante Adams, but it doesn't matter because he's so much faster than everyone on the field. It doesn't matter. But he has shown you a key skill that he has evolved into. He can now go up and get it. Even when Mahomes makes a bad pass, or it's a one-on-one ball and he doesn't run by you, he has the capability of jumping over you as well. So now not only do you have to deal with Tyree Kill running past you, but also you have to deal with Tyree Kill jumping over you. So how do you defend that? So Tyree Kill, you have to double him. So he is what makes the Chiefs offense so good. As great as Mahomes is, without Tyree Kill, you would not look at Mahomes the same way, because look at how many open completions Mahomes has on a given basis, on a weekly basis. How many times do you watch the Chiefs and you just say, whoa, why is Travis Kelce wide open on a 15-yard in route? Like, how does that happen? How is Demarcus Robinson wide open in the flat? That's because everybody is looking at Tyree Kill. Because Tyree Kill is the best receiver in the sport. I don't want to hear any other name. Stop it. I'm not going to hear it. I'm done. Okay? Until there is somebody that is more dangerous, which is fundamentally the biggest skill you can have in the sport of football. Danger. Until there is somebody more dangerous that puts stress on a defense more, I will not contend anyone else. Stop it. I'm done. He had video game numbers in the first quarter. There's a reason every team plays him the same way. Because you can't play him any other way, or he's going to have 250 yards. And then what happens? Travis Kelce goes off. Sammy Watkins goes off. See? Tyree Kill's the best. Anyways. So this is what I'm talking about with the Chiefs. Are they unstoppable? Because when you double Hill, then you get everybody else you got to deal with. So how do you double Hill and you double Kelce? There's not many guys that can cover Kelce one-on-one. I mean, I haven't met that many people on earth that can do that. So you got to double Hill, and then you got to think about doubling Kelce, or at least limiting him in a way where you bump him off the line, you put a zone underneath him, or you have a robber in the middle of the field that jumps across her, right? You gotta also deal with him, unless you have an absolute freak player that can take him for a majority of the time. But even then, you're not going to be able to, really deal with him the whole game. So Kelce's amazing. But what really makes their offense, so you got to deal with Hill, then you got to deal with Kelce. But then when Sammy Watkins is actually playing, you have a legitimate number 2 receiver who, okay, so if I'm doubling Hill, I'm doubling Kelce. Then I got to worry about one corner on Watkins. So basically what I'm saying, unless you have perfect personnel, you cannot play man coverage versus the Chiefs. Unless you have perfect personnel. So then that takes man out of the window. You can't blitz Mahomes either, because if you blitz Mahomes, Tyree Kill's going to run past you and it's a touchdown. So you can't blitz. You can't play man. Okay, then we get to zone. So now the Chiefs have figured out ways where, okay, so if you're going to put 2 guys on Hill, you're going to back up, you're going to play soft. Okay, I'll just throw it, 5 yards. I'll let my guys get yak now. Or I'm going to scramble myself and pick it up. You got to deal with that. So with the Chiefs, you deal with the fast death, which is I'm going to blitz Mahomes and try to get there, and then Tyree Kill's going to kill me on a 50-yard bomb. Or I can play slow death and just drop everybody back and just hope they do something dumb. And hope Hopefully there's an incompletion. Hopefully my four-man rush gets there. Hopefully Mahomes makes a mistake, which never happens. And then you got to deal with the jet sweeps, the motion, the screens, the Andy Reid-ness of the offense. There's just too much. You can't do it in 2020 where you can't put your arm on a guy's helmet or it's 15 yards. How do you defend that? 2020, the highest scoring season of all time. Fact. Why? Because the refs don't help the defense. The rules are made for the offense. So good luck stopping all this talent on offense with a great quarterback, a great coach, a great scheme, a pretty decent offensive line. That's why the Chiefs are unstoppable, man. That's why. And if they just get a little defense, they're going to win most of their games. The Chiefs, though, they frustrate me because the only ones stopping the Chiefs are the Chiefs. Every time I watch them play, they just stop playing. I've been there before on sports teams where, you know, your team's so good where like you could play for 2 quarters and you know you're going to destroy the other team on the other side. That is the Chiefs. The Chiefs are, you know, the youth football team that has way more talent than the other team, or just, you know, is basically a cheat code. And they just need to be motivated to play on offense. Not talking about their defense, but on offense. On offense, it's like they need to be pushed to do, because like without that, they just kind of stop. They're just like, you know, we just scored, like, we just had 250 yards passing in the first quarter, so we're just gonna, you know, like, fool around for like the next 2 quarters. And then the other team's gonna get back in it, and then Mahomes is gonna make some plays, and we're gonna win. Like, that's the thing that annoys me, because that is how, if the Chiefs lose, they're gonna lose. What's gonna happen is they're gonna go in the playoffs, they're gonna play a team that's good on the other side, probably shouldn't beat them, but they're good. They jump out to an early lead, and the Chiefs just can't come back. Or the Chiefs jump out to an early lead, and the other team finds a way to come back because the Chiefs took the foot off the gas pedal. That's why. Like, the Chiefs, they've seen all the different ways that defensive coordinators want to attack their offense. Mahomes has seen enough, right? He's seen the zones, he's seen the match coverage, he's seen the man, he's seen the disguise blitzes, and you could confuse them for a quarter, you could confuse them for 2 drives. You know, that could happen. We've seen this with Belichick, but then eventually they're going to turn it on. And the thing with the Chiefs is they could turn it on and they'll score 30 in a half. So the best way to beat them is to score more than them. Basically, it's the only way to beat them, because your defense is going to give up points eventually. What else do I got about this game with the Chiefs? I do think, though, if the Chiefs lose, it's going to be because they lull themselves to sleep and they allow the other team to win. Essentially. I'm not saying it's because they're unbeatable. I'm not saying that. They are beatable. But what I'm saying is everyone's beatable. Their biggest flaw is they're not consistent. But it doesn't seem to matter. They have moments in games where they'll score 20, then they score 0 for like a quarter, and then they score another 20. That is the moment where teams can capitalize on them, because they lull themselves to sleep. But yeah, that's what I saw in the Bucs game. That's what I've seen all year. That's why they're the best team. And their defense is, I think the biggest move they ever made was getting Steve Spagnuolo for their defense, because he's kind of done a really good job at helping, aiding, playing complementary football to their offense. He understands that their offense is great, and he's put a defense in place that makes it greater in a way. The defense is not that talented, but the way and the style that they play forces mistakes from the offense or creates some stops to where their offense can get the ball back. We saw stretches in that Bucs game where the Chiefs only won by 3. They had stretches of the game where the Bucs couldn't convert a third down. Spagnuolo was creative on third down. That was partly Bucs' fault. But, Spagnuolo put together some schemes, some disguises. They confused, and they did enough on defense. And that's with the Chiefs. They're going to have to win these games on offense. That's where, if you beat them, you're going to beat them, is you outscore them. And with the Chiefs, all their money is invested in their offense. So when they're in the fourth quarter, they would prefer to have the ball in Mahomes' hands at the end of the game to close the game out. That's how they're closing the game out offensively, not closing the game out on defense. If you can get them in that situation in the last minute of the game where you're tied and you can get the ball for the win, that's the best spot you can be in versus the Chiefs. Force their defense on the field. And that's why the teams that have beat them have been able to hold possession more so than stopping them. This is where we've been confused with the Chiefs. We've been confused that teams have stopped the Chiefs. That has never really happened. The teams that have beat the Chiefs have played more offense than the Chiefs, have played more effective offense by using their offense as a defense. That's how they've beat the Chiefs. Not because their defense was spectacular. That's maybe happened once, maybe twice at the most. That's rarely going to happen, especially now that they have such great chemistry between the coach, the coordinator, the quarterback, and the players and the playmakers, that it's a rare chemistry. You rarely see an offense this great stay together for this long. So that's scary. Let's get to the other team that played in the biggest game of last week, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs, they have a bye coming up. So their bye is in week 13. They take this loss and move forward. The Buccaneers, I saw some good things. I saw some bad things. I saw that Tampa Bay, when they were trailing, when they went to the pass, they actually moved the ball very effectively, especially on early downs when they went to the pass. See, here's the thing with the Bucs. I think their first down efficiency on offense is 30th in the league. So the whole year they've been very bad on first down. And most of the best offenses in the NFL are very good on first down. That's where they thrive because they put themselves in good positions. They get the first down on first down. They get a good chunk on first down. And often those teams are the best first down passing teams. And they put themselves in good seconds and thirds, or maybe they even get the first down in 2 downs. So the Bucs have been very bad on first down. Once they got down, they committed themselves to the pass in the second half, they got a lot better. I also saw a few other things which I thought were interesting. Obviously, their defense played a heck of a lot better when they decided that Tyree Kill wasn't going to beat them single-handedly. Bucs have a very talented defense. Todd Bowles came out with probably too aggressive of a game plan to allow Tyree Kill to get those one-on-one matchups, to beat them down the field and score quick sixes. And in the second half, they were able to slow down the Chiefs. Again, I think part of that is because of the Chiefs, but I think the Bucs had something to do with that. But on offense, Tampa Bay, I thought, was very effective when they went to tight end sets, when they allowed more protection for Brady. When they did take those shots, it's important that Brady has those tight end sets, that heavy sets where they take those shots. I think whenever they take the shots with Arians' offense, they need to be in that heavier personnel, because I think that's the only way they can really do it. And I think we just saw two things in this game that were very evident. You know, the difference between Kansas City and Tampa Bay to me is that Kansas City, as good as Mahomes is, they make their life easier on their quarterback. Tampa Bay, a lot of the time, Brady had those 2 interceptions, but he made a lot of nice passes, specifically in the second half. Every pass, it seemed like, that Brady completed was a nice pass. Every time Brady has to make a big conversion, it's an event. I mean, it's hard. And that's why the Bucs were blown out by the Saints. That's why the Bucs have lost to teams that they shouldn't be losing to, because they make life hard on their quarterback. I say this week after week with Byron Leftwich, with this offense, with this Arian scheme right now. But they don't find ways to make life easy on their quarterback. We see the best offenses in the NFL, from the Chiefs to the Niners to the Rams. All of the best offenses, the Saints as well, find ways to get easy completions and find ways to scheme up plays. And the Bucs, it just consistently feels like Brady can play well, but there's going to be mistakes, and there's going to be a very high range of possibilities. They're playing on the margins, right? So this is the thing that I think will really hurt the Bucs if they play this way into the playoffs. Because the better your opponents get, the more difficult offense will become. This is why they've struggled versus the better defenses, like the Rams and the Bears and the Saints. Because when they play them, the margin for error is so low that it's not easy offense. So when they're off, or when Brady is off, their offense looks like a complete mess. But when they're on, it looks spectacular, right? They have stretches this season where they go on runs and they score a lot of points. They go on stretches of looking dominant. They did versus the Chiefs. I mean, they moved the ball consistently versus the Chiefs in the second half. If it weren't for a weird tip pass to the line of scrimmage and Scotty Miller getting mossed, they probably would have won the game just because of the stretch they were on where they were just dominant. And that was because Brady was on, he was getting protection, and the receivers were making one-on-one plays. Gronk was making one-on-one catches, contested catches. Godwin, Evans, those guys were making contested catches or tight window catches. And to me, the Bucs, they don't use motion. Again, I've said this before, I don't want to be redundant, but it looks like a 2004 offense. There's no motion. Whenever you watch the Niners, there's motion on basically every play. When you watch the Rams, when you watch the Chiefs, there's guys going left, there's guys going right. There's indicators of coverage. There's a running back. Often when you watch the Patriots, even with Cam, there's James White in an empty set. James White out far to the right. Okay, is the linebacker following him? Is he coming back with him? Indicate man zone coverage. With the Bucs, it's just like we're going to line up in our formation. We're not going to motion anyone. Brady's going to have to decipher the coverage without any indicators. And we're not going to fool them with motion. We're not going to get free releases. We're not really. The only way they get free releases is in bunch formations or in stacks. Or it's just asking Mike Evans to. This is why Mike Evans struggles versus Marshawn Lattimore, which he does, is because they don't give him free releases. Every other team would be like, you're playing Marshawn Lattimore, you're our best receiver, we're going to help you get open, right? Marshawn Lattimore is great at press coverage. We're going to help you with the motion, right? If you motion a guy, you can't press him because it's impossible. So why don't they motion Evans, from the outside to the inside on a crosser? Or why don't they motion Godwin from the outside inside, running? It's it's again, I've said this over and over and over, and I don't want to sound redundant, but you have 43-year-old Tom Brady. Tom Brady is not an elite quarterback right now. He can make elite throws. He has an elite mind, but he can't move. He can't scramble. He can't run around and buy time. He is not so good under pressure anymore. He's old. He needs help. The offense needs help, no matter how good you are. The Niners never just stand there. The Patriots never just stand there. The Rams use a lot of play action. Brady's phenomenal on play action. The Bucs use the 30th most play action. Where do all the big plays come from in the Bucs offense? Play action. Play action. Every short throw's a screen. Again, they looked better. I thought the play calling was better. And I think part of that was because of Bruce Arians getting the call sheet. He called the plays. He was better than Leftwich. Okay? By the way, check out this artwork that Connor made for me. Check out this artwork. Now, this is what I call world-class artwork right here. Check that out. You got me punching the pads, Byron Leftwich holding them, but you don't know, am I punching the pads or am I punching Leftwich? That's a question to be answered at a different time. But that's what I call world-class artwork right there. But the Bucs should be better. The Bucs can get better. And what I want the Bucs to do, my whole overarching point of this whole rant is the Chiefs, as good as they are, have a wide margin for error. Because Andy Reid, Eric Bieniemy create plays for Hill to get the ball, Kelsey to get the ball, for Mahomes to throw into open windows. Not every third down, it's one-on-one contested catch. It's 30-yard fade. Why did the Bucs lose? Because the Bucs on 3rd and 2, 4 different times in the first half, threw the ball 50 yards downfield. That's why. The Bucs this bye week should be spending time watching the good offenses, implementing more motion, implementing more schemed up plays for their best players, implementing first down play calls, implementing play action. And they should be finding what their identity is going to be for the rest of the season. If they do not form an identity during this bye week, self-scout themselves, and come out of the bye week as a new offense with a clear identity and understanding what they want to be, that is the number one goal of the Bucs. This bye week is absolutely crucial. It is going to be the determining factor of whether the Bucs will be a legitimate threat in the playoffs or will be a huge disappointment. The team that you see, I don't even know who they play next. If it's Atlanta, if it's Minnesota, whatever. The team you see out of the bye is going to be a good indicator of what this team is going to be in the playoffs. Because that is where you'll see if the Bucs have learned. If the Bucs will understand their flaws, their shortcomings. Play action, motion, efficiency on early downs, playing Ronald Jones over Leonard Fournette. All of those things are huge. So that's the biggest thing for the Bucs. This bye week is huge for them. If they come out as a different team, I'll be talking more positively. But until I see it, I need to see it. Now let's talk about a well-coached team. Let's talk about Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers are still alive. Deebo Samuel was back. Richard Sherman was back with an interception. Samuel had 11 catches and like 110 yards or something. Raheem Mostert was back. They had guys. And you saw, first off, we saw the importance of Deebo Samuel to this team, to this offense. How important he is. Deebo Samuel is a baller. 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 He is a running back in a receiver's body. Kyle Shanahan has won 4 straight over Sean McVay. 4. I don't think any coach has won 4 straight over Sean McVay. Not Pete Carroll, not anybody else. Kyle Shanahan, I am going to make another video on him. Because you might not be realizing it right now. If this team was healthy, we would be saying that the 49ers would be in the NFC Championship. Unfortunately, they don't have a great quarterback, regardless of health or not. But I think they would be able to get there with their roster as it usually is intact. But it's completely, we know it's broken. But I'm going to make another video on Kyle because people don't realize that this guy is literally reinventing offense. Like, if you watch a 49er game, it's like unlike any other thing you see all week. It's like going to a different planet and like seeing their culture. Like, I don't know. This is the thing with Kyle, what he's doing. And yes, he's a wizard for all those people commenting. He's a wizard. Kyle, when you play his offense, the cornerbacks that you play don't matter. Okay, what am I talking about? The secondary that the opposing team, okay, the 49ers are playing your team. They could play the best secondary of all time, and it would not matter. Because they do so much with behind the line of scrimmage passing. I've never seen it before. I've never seen it. Kyle has found 4 kajillion ways to pass the ball without his quarterback throwing it. I've never seen it before. I literally want to make this video because he is inventing an offense that is unstoppable. And what I mean by unstoppable is it's quarterback proof. It's defense proof. The defense doesn't matter. You could be playing the best secondary ever. You could clone Deion Sanders 6 times and it wouldn't matter because they're not throwing the ball at the corners. He's getting guys wide open. He's scheming it up. And then you could play the best defensive line ever, but it doesn't matter. He finds a way to minimize the other team's strength better than any other offensive coach. And it's because he's reinventing offense. Just watch the 49ers. It's absolutely incredible. Nick Mullins is literally half the time going like this. That's Nick Mullins. I don't think we ever saw Nick Mullins do this. It's like, it's ridiculous. I've never seen it before. I've never seen a modern offense that didn't need a quarterback. Now, the 49ers could literally have had the Broncos situation where they didn't have a quarterback. And they would have scored 20 points. Somehow. I need to make this video. It's something else. And you're going to see everyone copy it. I mean, everybody else is already starting to copy it a little bit. You know, the Rams especially. Peyton a little bit. Reed a little bit. But it's it's something else. I mean, it doesn't matter who the guys are. He's going to find a way to maximize them. And the 49ers, because of Kyle, have a chance. And when you look at their schedule, let's take a look. I need to pull the phone up here. So they have an interesting schedule here. I think, everyone's talking about the Vikings. The Bears are 5-6. Atlanta's 4-7. The Cardinals. The Niners are better than the Cardinals. We'll get to the Cardinals later. The Niners, they play the Bills this week. They play Washington, Dallas, Cardinals, Seahawks. In my opinion, what I see happening is they are going to beat Buffalo this week. Bold take. They are going to beat Washington, Dallas, and Arizona. Their season is going to come down to the Seahawks game. They could squeeze in the playoffs if they beat Seattle, which I don't know if they will or not, but it will be close. But yeah, they got a chance. And because they're getting healthier with Ayuk and with Samuel, Ayuk's back next week, they're going to be tough to stop. And even Kittle might be coming back week 16, week 17. So that's interesting. And their defense has Sherman back, who's a big difference maker for their secondary. But yeah, man, I'm just amazed. Like, I've never seen an offense where you could have the best D-line or the best secondary, and it wouldn't matter. The other team had Aaron Donald. They played the Patriots, and the corners literally didn't do anything. They couldn't. It was like Deebo Samuel just running. I don't know. I love it. Whatever he's doing. I'm whatever he's doing. All right. Next. The Pats expose the Cardinals. The Cardinals, you heard it here first. Frauds. The Cardinals are frauds. I watched this game on Sunday. The most fraudulent football I've ever seen. The Patriots had, 80 yards of passing and they won? Huh? The Arizona Cardinals are completely overrated. Completely hyped up. The Cardinals, okay, anybody, I recommend you to watch the Patriots game. I swear to you, it was like Belichick knew the play that Cliff was running every time. It was like Kyle, but the opposite, right? Belichick knew where Kyler wanted to throw the ball. He knew when Kyler was going to run. He knew when the read option was coming. I mean, I have seen a lot of Patriots games before. This game, the Patriots were, and their defense is terrible. I'm telling you right now. Their secondary has talent. The whole front seven is depleted. They got nobody. They got average Joes on the defensive line. These guys were containing the run every time. Kyler didn't do anything on the ground. And they basically said, Kyler, you're not going to beat us with your legs. Kyler is the offense. Cliff's offense has been figured out. It's been figured out. Belichick exposed it. 100%. They knew where every pass concept was going to be. The corners were all over every route. Kyler was trying to run his triple option, his read option every time. Guy there, guy on the ball, guy on Kyler. I've never seen a defense so prepared to stop an offense in my life. And I understand the Cardinals scored. You got to understand how that came, all right? One was a strip fumble from the Cardinals defense that put them in position. Another was a 5 penalty drive, and they kept getting first downs on third down from the penalties. If it wasn't Kyler making a spectacular throw or run, the Cardinals legitimately did nothing on offense. Nothing. You can't win like that. You can't. The scheme was terrible. Patriots were there every time. I mean, John Simon looked like prime LT. He was he was sitting there. He was all over it. He was making tackles in the backfield like it was nothing. I mean, the Cardinals' offense is just so basic. The passing offense is so fundamental. Everything is covered. Belichick basically told you, this is the first time he played the Cardinals. First time. They had a rush plan for Kyler. They stopped the run. They covered them and blanketed them. That's how you know a defensive coordinator is all over an offensive coordinator. Is when you do not see an open receiver all game. I did not see an open receiver all game. All game. Every throw was into a tight window. Every throw was basically, or it was Hopkins getting open or Kirk, just winning, right? It's not like the route or the offense did it. It was the player, right? Cliff needs to go back to the drawing board because he got completely schooled in that game. It was embarrassing to watch. Embarrassing. The defense for the Cardinals is fine, but it wasn't anything, it's not anything to get excited about. It's a fine defense. I thought they did a good job of stopping the Patriots' run game. But the Patriots' offense is very, very, very weak. All right, we know this. It has legitimately no good players outside the offensive line and I guess Damian Harris, who's the top-rated running back by PFF, and Cam. But other than that, the team is ass. So the Cardinals just lost to the Patriots, all right? They got exposed by a Patriot defense that has no substantial talent on the front seven. But every time was all over Kyler in every big situation. And that tells me that the Cardinals have been completely, 100% figured out. End of story. They need to change something. I do got to say a quick thing on the Patriots. Doug Kyde, who is a Patriot reporter, beat reporter, put out an article earlier today, and he made a very good point. The reason the Patriots offense has been inconsistent is because the Patriots offense only puts out 2 threats on any play. 2 threats! And I've said this in different ways, okay? But think about it. So if the Patriots come out in a formation where it's the offensive line, that's 5 guys, Izzo, the tight end, the fullback, Johnson, Damian Harris, the running back, Damiere Byrd, and Jacoby Myers. All right? So that's their base offense. Okay, so they got 2 backs, 2 receivers, 1 tight end. Who are you covering on the play? So you're stacking a box for the run. You don't have to worry about Damian Harris because Damian Harris doesn't catch the ball. So he's not involved. Jakob Johnson is a fullback. He's not involved as a pass catcher. Okay? All right, so you have Cam, who you got to worry about as a runner, Damian Harris as a runner, so you stack the box, all right? One's identifying Cam, the rest is on Harris. Then you got Byrd, then you got Myers. You have 2 players who can catch the ball. 2. Most offenses, let's say the 49ers are in the same formation, okay? Debo to the left, Ayuk to the right, Kittle at tight end, Juszczyk at fullback, Mostert at running back. Who can catch the ball? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Kyle is working with 5. The Patriots are working with 2. So anyone, again, not Cam, and I don't even know how McDaniels is doing this, to be honest, but the math is out of whack. Doesn't really make sense. Okay? If they're not running the ball, there's a reason that this team ran the game. Think about this. Think about how bad your passing offense has to be that with 40 seconds left in the game, on 3rd and 14, with the game on the line, you call a read option. Think about that. Would any other team in the NFL call a read option on 3rd and 14 to get into field goal range? No. Nobody else is calling a read option on 3rd and 14 other than the Patriots. And last point on the Patriots, I don't want to spend too long on them, although they're 5-6, and I think they'll beat the Chargers, so I think they'll be 6-6, but we'll see. N'Keal Harry is awful. He has more games with 0 catches than with 2 catches. What? Okay, he takes a penalty. He doesn't get open. He's slow. What does he do? Why is he even playing? Why? Just put in Ford or put in Moncrief. At least they give you someone. So the Patriots are the only 11 personnel team, which means 3 receivers, 1 tight end, 1 running back, who have 2 receiving options on the field. 2. The Patriots come out in 3 receiver sets and 2 guys can catch it. And if you include James White, 3. Next. The Titans are scary. All right. The Tennessee Titans just ran over the Indianapolis Colts. And when I mean ran over, they legitimately steamrolled the Indianapolis Colts. What I saw from this game, I like Arthur Smith a lot. Arthur Smith is, I believe, one of the at least top 10 offensive minds in the league. He does a very good job with the identity of the offense, which has been there for 2 years. He's creative in the running game. When you watch the Titans, you see pulling linemen to the right, the left, opening up holes for the back. And then Derrick Henry finds it, hits it, and it's hard to take him down. Arthur Smith does a really good job with that run game and all the different ways they run it. Counter runs, zone runs, power runs. They do a lot of different stuff that I think can give a lot of different looks to different defenses. That's why it's so hard to beat them and stop Derrick Henry. In this game in particular, their offensive line was great. They bullied the Colts. Of course, DeForest Buckner wasn't there. They were missing some guys on Indianapolis. But they were pushing them back, 3 yards. And then it was a great game for the offensive line. Derrick Henry wasn't making a guy miss in the backfield and running for 30 yards. It was it was a well-designed play with an offensive line that's blocking really well, getting to that second level, and then Derrick Henry, bursting into that second level and making a big run happen. And Derrick Henry has very underrated vision and the feet for a big man to pick the hole. And this is the difference to me between Leonard Fournette and Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry and Leonard Fournette are not too far off in terms of size and pure speed, but Derrick Henry has that vision. Derrick Henry has those feet, and Derrick Henry knows how to see a hole and get through the hole. And Leonard Fournette does not. Let's just put it simply. So you combine that with a great play-action game, and then you throw A.J. Brown on top. A.J. Brown has bits and pieces of T.O. And you guys know how much I like T.O. I love me some T.O. I love me some meat. And A.J. Brown, he is one of probably 3 or 4 receivers that can take a dig or a deep out or a deep in, I should say, and break that for 50. A.J. Brown can just do what Derrick Henry does, except as a receiver. He's physical, he's fast, he can break tackles, and he can break away in the open field. He does what Julio used to do in a way. Jonnu Smith can do the same thing. They have speed. They have playmakers. And Corey Davis is having his best season of his career. He also has speed. So Arthur Smith, Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry. The reason I think the Titans are dangerous is because they have those explosive playmakers that if they play Kansas City, they can go toe-to-toe with the big play. If they play the Bills, they can run it on Buffalo. They can overpower Buffalo. And then, if you play the Steelers, Tennessee's not going to shy away from Pittsburgh. They lost to them earlier this year, but I promise you, a Mike Vrabel team in January is not going to back down. So, the Titans are tough. The Titans are explosive. The Titans are creative. And I think the Titans have everything it takes to be that sneaky playoff team this year again. No, we might have been. Their defense does need some work. It's not the greatest, but they're creative. They're well-schooled. They're well-taught, and at least they play good situationally at times. They're getting better, which is nice to see. So, this is an offensive league, guys. Don't get it twisted. If the Titans are breaking big plays, they have a chance versus anyone. The thing with the Titans is they can do that on any given day. Derrick Henry can break an 80-yard run at any time. A.J. Brown can break an 80-yard catch at any time. So that's why they're tough in the playoffs, because you can lose a one game to them. Even if they're not as good as you, you can lose one game to Tennessee. That's why they're tough. So that's why the Titans are scary, and that's why the Colts are not. The Colts have a great defense for 2020. The Colts have a pretty good coaching staff, and the Colts have a competent enough offense, but they don't have anything dangerous. They don't scare you. Phillip Rivers doesn't scare you. T.Y. Hilton doesn't scare you. Their run game has been disappointing. Their defense is good, but it's not dominant. The Titans scare you. The Colts do not. The Titans can go toe-to-toe with a great offense. The Colts cannot. When the Colts defense isn't dominant, the Colts cannot win. It's as simple as that. So, the Titans, they're scary. The Denver Broncos experiment. The Broncos started a wide receiver at quarterback. I talked about this a little bit with Kyle Shanahan. I feel like Kyle Shanahan still would have been able to put up 20. This is dumb, okay? The Broncos played a wide receiver. Poor guy. at quarterback. A wide receiver. And they tried to pass the ball. They tried to pass. Why don't you just run Wildcat all game? Like, just pull an 08 Miami Dolphins. Just, why? You're going to hurt the poor guy. And then he's going to be throwing ducks like Blake Bortles and getting other guys hurt. So if you're not hurting your own quarterback who's trying to play, he's throwing it to receivers who are going to get hurt. It's just dangerous. I don't know. What is the coaching there? How do you go into a game with a wide receiver at quarterback and decide to pass? That just makes no sense. Why? I don't know. It's weird. I know you weren't going to win, but at least give a chance. Try something. Trying to drop back with Hinton. Oh. But my bigger takeaway from this game was the other side of the ball. The bigger takeaway for me was the New Orleans Saints quarterback play from Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, he did not look too hot, let's just say, versus the Denver Broncos. And I feel like if the Broncos had an NFL quarterback, this game would have been close. This game would have been competitive. And you got to credit Sean Payton for what he's been doing and winning with this quarterback. But I'm worried about this next game versus Atlanta. Because now we've seen 2 games with Taysom Hill at quarterback. The first one was okay, but now we have 2 games of tape. Now we had a game of the Broncos defense giving him issues. And Taysom, it's just limited on what you can do. If you're not using his legs as the core philosophy of the offense, it's limiting what you can do on offense. And that's what scares me about the Saints, because I think a big thing for the Saints will be getting the bye. And you never know, like, Taysom could lose to anybody. I like him. I like the guy. I think he's a heck of an athlete. I'll support him. But you're putting yourself in a significantly worrisome situation versus a team like Atlanta. And down the stretch, just overall, you're waiting to get back Drew Brees. Fangio is great. For those of you commenting that, I get it. And the Broncos have a strong defensive line and all that. But you can't be rolling that out every week and expecting to win. Eventually, you're going to get caught. So that was my biggest takeaway, more than watching a wide receiver play quarterback, was if the Saints want to get that bye, playing Taysom might not be a good idea. You might have to switch to Jameis. I understand Jameis turnovers. He might not fit the offense to a T, but at least he's an NFL quarterback. At least he's a guy that can throw the ball. And come on, Sean Payton, he's a genius. He might not be a wizard, but he's a genius. He's a magician, all right? He can figure it out. He's great. He's still got Michael Thomas. He's still got Alvin Kamara. They'll figure it out, especially versus lesser teams. Jameis should be able to beat Atlanta. Should be. You can still play Taysom, but only use Taysom and Taysom stuff. You can still do Taysom stuff. You could even, but Jameis should be in there a little bit more, right? He should be in there as the starter. You could put Taysom in there for short yardage, whatever. But I don't know, because you're putting yourself in a bad situation where you could be upset by a team you shouldn't lose to with Taysom playing really poorly the way he did versus Denver. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. All right. Next. Anthony Lynn, buddy. Anthony Lynn, what are you doing? What? I have my notepad. This guy gotta go right now. It looks weekly like the LA Chargers do not practice situational football. Like, at all. It looks like the Chargers have never been in a 2-minute situation, ever. It looks like the Chargers have never been down by 2 possessions with 1 minute left, ever. It looks like the Chargers have never practiced any sort of situational football. At the end of the half, what was that? But more importantly, at the end of the game, oh my goodness. Did anyone else see this? So Justin Herbert completes a Hail Mary. It's 4th and 24 or something. Something really ridiculous. Maybe even farther than that. I don't even remember. Herbert completes a Hail Mary. They get down to the 10-yard line, and I get it. You don't have any timeouts. You're down by 2 possessions. It's very unlikely you're going to win, okay? But how do... I wrote it down because I couldn't believe it. How do you catch the ball at 45 seconds? You catch the ball 45 seconds. Keep this in mind. 45 seconds. You do not snap the ball. You let 25 seconds go off the clock. You're down by 10 points. Your team does not snap the ball for another 25 seconds? Who's coaching this team? That is inexcusable. The number one thing, you always hear this. What does Bill Belichick always practice? Situational football. Anthony Lynn's never practiced this before, and it shows. How do you snap the ball? You catch it at 45 seconds. 25 seconds. And then he runs the ball. What are you doing? Not only did they catch it, they lose 25. They run it. And then they pass, incomplete. They run it again. So, you're losing by 10. Losing by 10. You don't even give your team a chance. You might as well have gotten the ball and punted it and gone to the team bus and left. Anthony Lynn needs to go. At a certain point, you lose every game on the last possession. You lose, you're trailing, you're winning, you blow a lead, you can't come back, whatever it is. Every single Charger game. Blown lead. This is why I am confident the Patriots will beat the Chargers. Because if Bill Belichick loses to Anthony Lynn, I will be shocked. I get it. Anthony Lynn is probably got a more talented team. But this is the biggest coaching mismatch since Nom. Anthony Lynn should be fired. And he should be fired because right now you want to take advantage of getting a coach in there. Because everybody and their mom, their cat, their dog sees how good Justin Herbert is. So every coach is going to want to go to LA. It's LA. You have Herbert. You have Joey Bosa. You have, who's a freaking animal, by the way. You have Derwin James coming back. You've got young players on that defense. You have Keenan Allen. You have Mike Williams. You have Hunter Henry. You have Austin Eckler, who got like 10 catches in this game. They have lots of talent. Get a coach in there. This is a playoff team next year. That's why you fire him right now. I get it. He did some positive things, but there's way too many. If this was once, okay. If this was twice, fine. But I mean every game. It's the same thing. You can't be doing this. You're wasting your young quarterback. Oh, God. Do we really have to talk about this team? Oh. So I'm going to be honest. I didn't really watch this game. I had a family dinner going on, so I rarely watched any bits of this game. So I'm not going to really be specifically referring to the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers. All right? That's not what I'm doing. I will say the Chicago Bears are trash. The Chicago Bears are garbage, man. Trash. They have the worst trio of quarterback, coach, and GM in the NFL. How this team has 5 wins is absolutely incredible to me. I do not know how, but more importantly, I do not know why. What use does the Bears winning any games have to do? Why? The Bears could be a top 5 pick, but instead they'll be stuck in obscurity with no quarterback, no position to draft the quarterback, a relatively old roster, a trash offensive line, no coach, no GM, no coach that want to go there. The GM still has a job. How? Ryan Pace still has a job. He picked Mitch Trubisky over Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. Anyone with eyeballs would tell you that they should have picked another guy. Anyone with eyeballs could tell you to sign Cam over Nick Foles for less money, and you had to trade for Nick Foles. This is my problem with the Bears. They are not, and this is my problem with bad football organizations. And this is my problem with the guy I'm going to talk about next. All right, Mr. David Blaine Caldwell. We'll talk about him. They are not willing to move the fuck on. Bears, I am looking straight at the camera. You need to move on. Trubisky sucks. I love the guy. Seems like a good dude. He's not good at quarterback, and neither is Nick Foles. So why am I saying it like this? Because obviously they do not understand. Trubisky sucked. He was bad last year. We saw this with our eyes. Joe Schmo in the bar saw he was bad. What do? We sign Nick Foles. Nick Foles. Why? We don't draft a quarterback. We don't sign a proven commodity. We fucking go with Trubisky again. Trubisky. Nick Foles. Trubisky is inaccurate and dumb. Nick Foles is a human statue who is more inconsistent of a passer than anyone I've seen, and also makes mistake after mistake. Matt Nagy, he's not completely to blame, but I mean, come on. Your side of the ball is offense. You're offensive coach. You're not a special teams coach. You're a offensive coach. Why did Matt Patricia get fired? Because his defense was trash for 3 years. Why should Matt Nagy get fired? Because his offense sucks. It's that simple. I'm standing up for Bears fans right now. If you're a coach and you're a good coach, you figure out your side of the ball. If you're Andy Reid, you never have a bad offense. If you're Bill Belichick, you never have a bad defense. If you're Matt Nagy, you should have a good offense. I don't care. Kyle Shanahan doesn't have a quarterback, and he has a good offense. So there's Bears fans that saying Pace gotta go. Trubisky's not the guy. I just dropped my pen. Nick Foles isn't the guy. But neither is Nagy. Because if Nagy could figure something out, the guy is vanilla as vanilla ice. I mean, what does he do? I have never saw or seen, to use correct English, a Chicago Bears game where I come away and I say, oh my God, that was a great game plan by Matt Nagy. He was awesome. He was spectacular. So good. He was amazing. The best. I've never seen it better. He was the best coach today. He was the best coach. I didn't like him from day one. Because day one, he doesn't take any blame. He's like, my quarterback sucks. That's day one. He sounds like Bruce Arians. Dude, what do you do? What? What's your token? What's your go-to play? What's your go-to offensive staple? What's the best thing you do? Run, pass, play action, screen, help the offensive line, help the quarterback, help the receivers. What do you do? What? For what I see, nothing. Not one thing. You suck too. So, the GM sucks. Okay? Because he doesn't know when to move on. The quarterbacks obviously suck. We don't need to go into detail about that. And the coach sucks. Awful. The worst. Bye. David Blaine Caldwell. All right? He's gone too. How David Caldwell, how he still had a job this year is probably the biggest mystery of all time. I don't know how this man still has a job or had a job. Can someone please explain to me how he had a job? Right after you pick Blake Bortles 3rd overall, you should be fired. That was what, 4 years ago? 5 years ago? So, and not only does he pick him, he then starts for 3 years. He takes you to AFC Championship. Any other quarterback in the NFL would have won the Super Bowl in 2017 with Jacksonville Jags. Any quarterback. Any quarterback. So you watch that, and then what do? You proceed to, you proceed to watch Blake Bortles with your eyes. And then you start him. But not only do you start him again, you extend him. What? Huh? And then you lose every good player you had. You trade Calais Campbell. You, for some reason, trade Jalen Ramsey. You trade... What? Who else did you have? Yannick Ngakoue didn't want to play. Allen Robinson didn't want to play for you. I mean, like, every player. You pick Leonard Fournette, who's the worst running back in the NFL, 4th overall. Let me check that draft. I'm checking this draft. This man picked Leonard Fournette over Jamal Adams, Patrick Mahomes, Christian McCaffrey, Marshawn Lattimore, Deshaun Watson, Marlon Humphrey. I mean, what? So, we are going to rip into Ryan Pace for picking Mitchell Trubisky, a quarterback, 2nd overall. Okay, at least he picked a quarterback. Keep in mind, this is the 2017 draft. Mahomes is there. Watson is there. All right? David Caldwell decided to pick Leonard Fournette after watching Blake Bortles play 14 games in 2014, 16 games in 2015, and 16 games in 2016. That is 32, 50 games. Nearly. Right? Around 50 games. So, he picked, after all of those games, that he watched Blake Bortles. He picked a running back. So, everybody in that draft talks about Ryan Pace picking Trubisky. But nobody brings up that David Caldwell picked Leonard Fournette 4th, a running back. A running back. 4th overall. Over Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. And if they would have been on the team, I swear to you, Jacksonville would have won 3 Super Bowls in the last 4 years. How can you watch Blake Bortles in 2014, 2015, and 2016 and still start him? How did this guy have a job? The NFL can be so stupid. I mean, I get it, you got an ego. But you have an ego, but like, if you just picked a, okay, Caldwell would still have his job if he just understood to move on. I'm sorry. It's your fault, man. Carson Wentz. You see it. You see it. Carson Wentz sucks. There's nothing else that needs to be said. He's the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. Is that because he has the worst offensive line? No. It's because he holds on to the ball too long. Carson Wentz is inaccurate. And I think this is the fundamental aspect of his game. There's 2 things. Why does Carson Wentz suck? People keep saying, Mitch, why does Carson Wentz suck? What happened to him? Why does he suck now? He was so good. There's a couple things. Carson Wentz was good. Carson Wentz had a great offensive line. Carson Wentz had pretty good weapons. A decent offensive system. Carson Wentz without a good offensive line has been bad. Because Carson Wentz is very much like Mitchell Trubisky. Yes, I'm going there. Carson Wentz is not smart. Carson Wentz is not accurate. So when you combine both of those things, which is the same with Trubisky, both athletic players, both have strong arms. Carson Wentz, first, realizes that he's not accurate. So when he sees a tight window throw, he understands that he can't make the throw because he can't fit it into the tight window. Okay? So Carson Wentz sees a receiver in tight coverage. And while Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, those guys would still throw it, Carson Wentz, when he sees the tight window throw, does not throw it because he knows he can't make the throw. So what does he do? He holds on to the ball. What does that do? Create more pressure for himself? He gets sacked. He tries to create a play outside the pocket because he knows he can't make the tight window throw, so he tries to allow his players more time to get open to make an easier throw for himself. And when that happens, Carson Wentz is not Lamar Jackson. He can't evade 2 people in the backfield. Carson Wentz eventually gets hit or a guy closes in on him. He panics and he throws a bad interception. So Carson Wentz has trouble reading defenses. Carson Wentz is inaccurate. Those are the fundamental aspects of the game that's wrong. Because he's inaccurate, he panics. He tries to make something big when it's not there and therefore turns the ball over or gets sacked. Carson Wentz has trouble deciphering coverages. That's why when he had a ton of time with this great offensive line, the almighty O-line, he had all the time in the world. Eventually, a guy would break free and get open, or he would be able to step up and because he's athletic, could make a throw. Carson Wentz is broken. He is broken. And right now, he sucks. And I don't know if he's going to come back from it. All right. The NFC Playoff Race. Let's take a look. I know Ultra wanted me to discuss it so I could bring up the Atlanta Falcons. Their outside chance after demolishing the Raiders. The NFC playoffs. So this is the way I see it going. The NFC East, who cares? All right. Now it depends how long Daniel Jones is out. I don't think the Giants will beat the Seahawks, the Cardinals, the Browns, or the Ravens. I really think they can only win one more game on their schedule, which is the Cowboys game, the last game of the year. So they're probably going 5-11. Washington has Carolina and the Eagles. They also play the Steelers and the Niners. I suspect they'll lose to the Steelers and the Niners. They could beat the Panthers or the Eagles. So they might win 6 games. The Eagles are 3-7-1. They're a game or half a game behind. They play the Saints, Cardinals, Cowboys, Washington. They could win 2 games there. Right? So the way I'm looking at it is it's going to be between the Eagles and the football team because Daniel Jones is injured, depending on how serious it is. Cowboys are out. I really hope the Eagles don't make it because they're the only team that's close to healthy. Only team that's close. Now, the NFC North, the Packers will make it in terms of what seed they will get. That'll be determined by how they play. They have an easy schedule. I mean, they have all year. They play the Eagles, they play the Lions, they play the Panthers, they play the Titans, they play the Bears. I think they'll lose to the Titans. So I think they'll go 12-4. The Vikings are 5-6. People are starting to hype them up as a team that can make it. I don't think so. They play Tampa, they play Chicago, they play the Saints, they play the Lions. They struggle versus Chicago. They will lose to the Bucs and the Saints, most likely. And they also play the Lions, which I don't think is easy. They could win that. They should win that. So they'll win 2 games, Jacksonville, Detroit. They could beat the Bears. But at best, they're going 3-2. They're going to be a maximum of 8-8. The Bears are not making it. Don't even get me started. New Orleans, 9-2. They're trying to go for the first seed. I think they'll lose to the Chiefs. And I have a feeling they might lose to the Falcons. Other than that, they're going to be 13-3 or 12-4. Tampa Bay is, I think, going to sweep. They play 4 more games. They play the Vikings, Falcons, Lions, and Falcons again. I think they'll beat all those teams. Seattle, they have one of the easier schedules. They play the Giants, the Jets, the football team, the Rams, and the Niners. I think they'll beat one of the Rams or the Niners and win the Giants, Jets, and football team. So they'll be 12-4-ish. The Rams play the Cards, the Patriots, the Jets, the Seahawks, the Cards. So I'm suspecting they'll lose once to the Cards, possibly. They might lose to New England. They might lose to Seattle. They'll lose to one of New England or Seattle. So I think the Rams will be about 10-6. Cardinals are 6-5. They play the Rams, the Giants, the Eagles, the Niners, the Rams. They'll lose one of the Rams games and probably to the Niners. I don't think they're making it. I think they'll be 9-7-ish. So, in my opinion, let's also check the Niners. And the Niners, I went over earlier. I think they could beat the Bills. I probably will pick them to beat the Bills. They play the football team, the Cowboys, the Cardinals. I think they'll win all those games. It really comes down to Seattle. I think they're going to be 6-6, 7-6, 8-6, 9-6. Last game of the year. I think if they beat the Cardinals, they'll be in. But if they lose, I think that's going to be interesting. So if there's 3 wild cards, The Bucs will take the first one. The Rams will take the second one. And then the third one will be between the Cardinals and the Niners. And right now I'm leaning towards the Niners. I think the Vikings, I think all these teams that people think have a chance, the Vikings, the Bears, the Atlanta Falcons for some reason, they're all out. That's my opinion on it. I think it will be interesting to see who gets the number one seed in the NFC. Is it Green Bay? Is it Seattle? Or is it the Saints? That will be a big thing as well. Week 13, sneak peek. There are 4 games that I'm really interested in Week 13. First one is my Patriots against Justin Herbert. I want to see Belichick versus the Rook. Cleveland at Tennessee. That's a big AFC game. The Rams at the Cardinals. That's a big NFC game, specifically NFC West. And Buffalo at San Fran, I think, is the best game of the week. So those are the games I'm looking forward to the most in Week 13. All right, so that is the show. Hope it was fun for you. Let's get to the comments. If you guys haven't already, we have 76 people watching right now live, only 30 likes. If you haven't already, Gronk, spike that like button. Show your support for this video, for this series, and for this channel. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And don't forget to Gronk spike that notification bell for the latest upload and the latest time I go live. All right. Comments time. Coach said Rams and Cards. LFG. Louis says hi. What's up? Saints will beat Atlanta. Winston will play, says Lori. Samuel says, where do the Chiefs offense rank all time? Probably top 10, top 5-ish. Turtle says Tampa should drop 1 to Atlanta. I feel good about that. All right. Depends which Tampa team we see. Ultra says, Durkant, the Lions have no chance. Mark says, Mitch, why do you think of the Raiders? What do you think of the Raiders, I think you meant? I don't know, man. I like them, but I don't know. It's going to be tough for them to make the playoffs. I think they're on the outside looking in right now. Durkant says Lions 9-7 tiebreaker over Cardinals. Let's do it. No Matt Patricia. He's gone. He's gone. Fix that hair. Holden says if Chris Carson stays healthy, the Seahawks are scary. Connor says Browns have 0 rush yards without Chubb. Average sub 100 Average sub 100 rush yards per game, 200 with. Chubb is 7th in rush yards while being 22nd in carries. Mason says Saints will win the NFC with ease. To me, it depends on who will play in the Super Bowl. Who we play. So he's obviously a Saints fan. Brian says, Mitch, when's the Pro Bowl voting video coming? Probably tomorrow. Turtles says Tampa couldn't beat most teams twice. Ultra says they would have beat Green Bay, Tampa, and Tennessee in a row. The Lions beating Green Bay, Tampa, and Tennessee might as well write them up in the Super Bowl. Jets are the worst team in the NFL, obviously, says Singh. Ultra says San Francisco is my hope for eliminating Arizona's bum ass. Coleman says Doug Peterson is safe unless the Eagles don't win another game. Even then, he might get one more year. The dude has done nothing but dominate the division the last 3 or 4 years. Got a Super Bowl. What will the Lions' record be? Probably what are they right now? What are they right now? 4-7? Let's say 6-10. Randy says, what did you say about the Chiefs? I just got here. Oh, a lot, man. A lot. What do you mean, Durkant? Caesar says, is Washington football team a possible playoff contender? No. Brian says, the Titans will be 13-3, 3 seed. Book it. Mark, stop. Rob says the key game for the 49ers to make the playoffs is for them to get revenge on Arizona on 12/26. All right. Lori says, can't wait for the Saints and Chiefs game. Breeze will play in that game. Good game. Yeah, it will be a good game. It'll be very interesting to watch. Louis says, Chiefs are gods. Connor says, meant 0 rushing touchdowns. Oh. Isaac says, you think the Raiders lost their playoff chance with the loss to Atlanta? No, not necessarily, but it's going to be tough. Paulie says, oh, Pats fan. That's why you think the Bills lose to the Niners. No, I like the Bills a lot. I just think they don't really match up well with the Niners. Jacob says, what do you think about Mike Evans? Not saying they can't win. Jacob says, what do you think about Mike Evans? Love Mike Evans. He's awesome. Ultra says, what were your takeaways from Vegas, Atlanta? I didn't really watch it. I saw the score early in the game, and I was like, I'm good. I'm not surprised that Atlanta won, but I am surprised that it was that score. What's your prediction for the BLV League? I'm going to pick Connor to win it all. Connor's going all the way. One Pride says, should the Lions hire Robert Saleh? Saleh? I think that's his name. I personally would say no, but that's just my opinion. Mark says, Mitch, check your DMs on Discord. I have a surprise. Oh, that's not good. Murder says, LOL, what's up? Singh says, Browns are going to win the next game. They're going to beat Tennessee. Mason says, who do you think will win the Super Bowl? I don't know. Probably the Chiefs. Who knows? Mark says, Lions are actually going to make the playoffs like it's going to happen. Okay. We'll see. Coleman says, Peterson will ride or die on Carson Wentz Hill. And yeah, I could the play calling being taken away from him. I could see the play calling taken away from him. I just don't see him getting fired this year. No, I don't think he deserves to be fired. Sean says, my Hawks defense is healthy now and are going to have the time to build chemistry. So hopefully come playoff time, we can see. One Pride says, okay, I'm good with that. The Lions won't make the playoffs. Kant says, y'all know I'm winning the BLV League. Nah, their Kant's going to choke. Brian says, Raiders still control their own destiny by hosting the Colts and the Dolphins. Every team has a trap game. This was their trap. Randy says, Chiefs, Seahawks, Super Bowl. Winrus says, the Bucs deciding to gamble on deep passes and not playing efficient football is head scratching. I would agree. Coleman says, oh, never mind. Sports Today says, Tampa is a team that just needs to get hot. Yeah, I agree. These next 4 games reminds me of the 2018 Patriots. Found their identity late in the season. Will surprise teams in the playoffs. Less Brady throws, more runs. That is his opinion. But I do agree about the 4 games. I think this bye, like I said earlier, the bye is crucial. Coleman says, Randy Noble, I agree, Chiefs, Seahawks, Super Bowl. Durkant says, I'm literally a team of destiny. Singh says, Raiders will beat the Jets. That is a bold take by Mr. Singh. Sean says, how did your fantasy team perform, Mitch? So I locked up the bye in my big league. Happy about that. I lost in the BLV league this week. I lost in my own league that I run, but I'll probably be in the playoffs. I think I'm in the playoffs in every league. In the playoffs in a keeper league that I'm in. I won in my school league that a bunch of guys I go to school with. I won in that league. I think I'm in first or second in that league. I'm at least top 5 in every league I'm in. So I think this is the first time ever that I have not had at least one team miss the playoffs. Usually you have at least, if you have like 6, 7 teams like I do, you usually have at least one team that misses. But every team is pretty good. So I'm happy about that, regardless of how I do. Ultra says, Mitch, I see that Cam jersey in the background. Yes, you do, sir. Brian says, Mitch, what are your ideal playoff matchups? I don't know. In the first round, I'd like to see the let me see. In the AFC, let's say the Chiefs get the first seed. I'd like to see the Steelers versus the Colts. I'd like to see Ben versus Rivers. Let's go with the Titans and so then the Bills would be the third and the Titans would be the fourth. The fifth seed is likely going to be the Browns. So it will probably be the Browns and the Titans. That's okay. The Dolphins and the Steelers. Is it the Dolphins and the Steelers? Oh no, if the Dolphins are ahead of this, the Dolphins are ahead of the Colts. The Dolphins would play the Bills, which would be probably pretty good. I think I'd prefer to see the Raiders in the playoffs than the Browns. The Browns don't really excite me much, but they're probably going to make it. Obviously, I'd love to see the Patriots in there, and they would probably be for a better matchup, like especially if the Chiefs were to get the 2 seed. But they're probably not going to make it. NFC-wise, I think has better matchups on paper. I don't think that means they have better teams, but let's say the Saints get the first seed. You'd have Seattle versus the Niners, I think would be awesome, or the Cardinals, either way. The 6th seed is the Rams versus the 3 seed is likely to be the Packers, which would be a really good game. So I like that one. And then the Bucks versus the NFC East. I think I would like to see the Bucks and the Giants because the Giants gave the Bucks a good game. And even the Giants gave the Rams a good game. So either if you flip those two, I think it would be good that way. So I don't know. Those sound like decent to me. Who do the Titans have a better shot at upsetting? Probably the Steelers. I just think the Steelers are generally a worse team. Durkant says he has the freshest hair products on the market. Ultra says NFC playoffs going to be lit this year because everyone sucks. It's true. And on that note, I think that's where I should end. So, thanks guys for joining me live. It was a long one, but a fun one. Plenty of rants. If you did enjoy, Gronk, spike that like button and make sure you do subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks for watching. We will see you soon. Deuces.